I'm Phil Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and welcome to my vlog, where it's both my mission and my pleasure to discuss my creative journey, all in hopes of inspiring you, giving you specific takeaways, so that way your journey can be a little bit easier. Now, before I fully get into things, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already. That way you get all the various lessons and episodes that I put out right when I put them out. Thank you if you just did, and thank you if you already were. It truly does mean a lot to me, as I hope it does to you. So this past week really can be best summarized as just a week of hell in terms of tech. Monday, my work computer went down, so I had to deal with that, and kind of still technically dealing with the issue of the computer, but as far as having, backups and making that work, that I was able to do that, right? So it's not my normal workflow for my job. I had to, kind of scramble and make it work, And then the other thing, my phone was kind of acting up, and so I had to deal with that. I was kind of avoiding it for a little bit, but then finally went Friday, and I was overdue for an upgrade. I think I had like the same phone for almost 5 years. And so I was like, well, you know what? It's time. Let me upgrade. And what ended up happening there was just the transfer of my old phone to my new phone just kept taking forever. And I guess the real issue was that they didn't update the new phone because I guess when they sent it out from the manufacturers, it didn't have the latest, or it did at the time, but the phone had kind of been there, and so it just needed an update and so forth, right? And so basically, for a large chunk of my weekend, I was without a phone. Now, I didn't necessarily mind that. The problem was not knowing when I would get it back, because I kept having to go to the store and check in with them and so forth, and I couldn't necessarily call them, and so forth. So it was just kind of, it was started off as like, oh, it'll take 30 minutes. Then it was like, oh, just another hour and so forth. Ended up basically taking 24 hours. It's okay. I went without a phone for that long. It's just the not knowing of like, hey, just give me a realistic time of when I could come back. And that's kind of frustrating because, in some sense, it's like, you guys do this, you guys should know that when doing this, like, maybe the new phone should be completely updated. So it's the phone's good to go. And secondly, just tell the customer, hey, just so you know, when you transfer a phone, it could be real quick, maybe like 30 minutes to an hour, or, it's not uncommon that it could take up to 24 hours, right? Just so I have a realistic gauge of, expectation, right? That's my big thing in life, is just give me something so I know what to expect, and if it changes, update me, as opposed to me having to hound you for the answers. But yeah, that was kind of the overall component of, my week. So just dealing with unexpected stuff in that way, all doable, but, just kind of when you have those weeks, you lower your expectations in terms of output. You're like, okay, well, I'm dealing with X, Y, and Z, so I have to adjust accordingly. I have to adjust my expectations in terms of the output I'm capable of, because I'm dealing with that stuff, and in order to do the stuff that's absolutely necessary, I'm utilizing alternative setup, as a temporary basis, right? So that was kind of the majority, but like I said, it's all doable. Part of what allows me to go into an alternative setup quite easily is because I have backups of all my stuff, basically, and I try to keep it pretty updated. Once every 2 weeks, I make a big backup of my projects, which initially when you first do make a backup of something, it'll take long, but now because I'm only updating it once every 2 weeks, it's not as much. And, ultimately, if I ever were to lose something, a lot of stuff that I would lose in those 2 weeks would technically be accessible over email or something like that, because I have, stuff that I've emailed, or like, let's say I'm talking a lot of the stuff that I do, in this sense, like, for example, with this episode, right? It would be like I would lose the original recording of this episode and would only have the thing that I posted online. So in that sense, it's like, okay, well, I could have the version that I posted, the video or the audio that I posted online. Or worst case, I would just have to, if for some reason didn't get around to uploading it yet or something like that, then I would just have to redo an episode, right? So it's kind of good in that sense. Now, the major stuff, whenever I work on like a film project, a commercial shoot for somebody else or something like that, I always make sure to, have backups of that right away, as opposed to this, 2-week rolling thing that I do with stuff that's not as important, that if I lose, it's not the end of the world. So just a little bit of, my process, and maybe it'll help you. Creatively, what I was working on mostly was, the continuation of the prep for my upcoming feature film. And for more information on that, you can go to our Indiegogo crowdfund. It has the plot and other stuff, other details. This is the last week for the Indiegogo, so if you haven't yet checked it out, I encourage you to do so. If you're able to donate, great. If not, at least just share it. That would mean the world to us. But anyway, been busy working on that. We did a rehearsal this Thursday, and it was good. I've been meaning to kind of get the actors out of just apartments, right? Because we've been primarily rehearsing in my apartment, and really get them kind of in more environments that mimic what they would be in. And it was funny because one of the actors came in. They were like, "Hey, maybe for the next one we do it at a park or something like that." And I was like, "Well, funny you say that, because," and then I revealed what I wanted to do, and it really did liven it up. We went out into the street, so to speak, and filmed kind of in that way, and it made it a lot more fun. It made it a lot more realistic, and I think they really got into it. It was just a great time, And overall, everything that we shot that day, we'd already rehearsed. And what's interesting is, them getting into the flow of things. And not that this was a goal, but, overall, we actually just through those scenes, which I think realistically probably are like 20 pages, of material in the script, they ended up cutting 2 minutes just by performance. So that's good. And not that's it's not necessarily our goal to cut down stuff, but it was just a natural byproduct of them understanding the script more, having more energy, right? Because, in the previous rehearsals, we were still kind of reading the script as we were going along. So, that takes a little bit of time just to look down at a screen and stuff like that. And it's just interesting how just that alone cut out basically 2 minutes, right? And gave it more energy and so forth, right? So it puts us more in line with, okay, here's how the actual performance and the timing of it will be. And that's a good place to be. We want to be getting to that place of because what I'm doing is I'm taking these rehearsals and putting into a video timeline, so that way, as much as we can start to see the movie in advance, right? Obviously it doesn't have all the coverage, meaning the different angles and so forth, but certainly performance and timing, it does. And, that works for me of what's dragging, are there moments that don't play right and so forth. Also, it allows the composer to start thinking about music and just it's just beneficial for everybody. The actors can watch it back and so forth. So yeah, the fact that like we're getting to a place where it's more reflective of what the movie will eventually be is an exciting place. Part of that, we also shot I think like 4 pages that were brand new, that we hadn't yet rehearsed, just because we weren't focusing on that yet. And there were simple scenes, but they had such heart, and it scenes between just 2 people, and it was really fun to see, and just how electric the 2 of them really were. It worked out great, and in that sense, it was scenes between my friend Khalil and my friend Sarah, who both star in my first movie, and they kind of had a few scenes together in that first movie, but nothing really significant. And in this way, it was fun to write specifically like stuff just between them. And I think they performed it great, and I'm really excited by what they brought to the table. So I'm really glad that just from a creative standpoint, it works to have written those scenes, because I think they just had a lot of fun with it. I certainly had fun watching them. And we tried, the nice part about them is we were also able to just try out a couple things. We did like a kind of Wes Anderson version of a particular scene, and it's fun. I thought about it. It's just, it's not the style of our movie, so I don't think it'll ultimately work. But it was, nonetheless, it's great because we can try it. No one's being judgy of like, let's just see what it looks like, and if we have to adjust, we adjust, right? That's the fun part. So, all in all, that that's kind of where we're at moving forward. There's a lot of stuff production-wise that we were waiting on some answers for, in terms of pricing and availability and so forth. So we're gonna have a big meeting this Thursday to talk about that with the production team, and kind of move forward. It's really exciting. So we're just progressing slowly but surely. I mean, it's interesting by the end of this week, we'll be 2.5 months out from filming this thing, which is scary. It's exciting. All those things wrapped into one. So anyway, that's kind of really long and short of it, in terms of how my week was. Obviously there's other stuff and smaller stuff in between, but nothing worth sharing in that sense. But thank you for taking the time to listen. Hope it is beneficial. As always, you can ask any questions, whether about the stuff that I talked about directly, or anything that you would like to talk about, right? That you would like my input on. Happy to do so. You can do that in the comment section, or hit me up on social media at Svitek. Like I said, these were in the final days of our Indiegogo crowdfund. So again, please, it would mean the world to me and the rest of the team, who was working incredibly hard to, if you just checked it out, that's all. So thank you so much. I appreciate you, and hope to see you next time.